Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction, and I want to actually walk you through a project that we did. And this is actually intended to be a little bit of a behind the scenes kind of like this is a funny expression, but open the kimono type situation where I'm actually going to walk you through a project that we did. And so this was a huge outdoor living project, and we added a roof, an outdoor kitchen, and redid a pool, travertine, pavers, screen, tons of stuff. It was in Odessa, Florida. This project wrapped up in late 2023, and it came out amazing. At the end, we're going to show you some of the final pictures of this project. It was immaculate. This project came out so nice. The client loves it. We've had several people, since we put it up on our website, people comment about it all the time. But I want to walk you through what it actually takes to achieve a finished product like what you see in the final pictures. So what we started out with on this project, obviously, is a blank slate. The person already had a pool. There was already like a cheap paver pool deck. He had a smaller screen, and really he wanted to make it bigger, and he wanted to add a roof and add an outdoor kitchen underneath the roof. So he literally wanted it connected to the house. And so what we had to do is we had to figure out, okay, how do we match the roof style and give him a vaulted ceiling inside? Like, he wanted to be very high ceilings. And then he wanted an outdoor kitchen, and he wanted the whole thing screened in, and he wanted the pool refinished, and he wanted to expand the pool deck. So funny enough, the first thing that we actually ran into on this project was a permitting issue. So where we planned to expand the pool deck, we had a survey that was old of the property, and sometimes old surveys are not accurate. And so what we found is the setbacks, the how close we can go to the property line, had actually changed on this project. So the first thing we ran into, boom, right away when we went into permitting, was that, oh, we can't actually build what we planned to build here. So we had to really quick, alter our plan, change the dimensions of the roof and the dimensions of the pool cage and the pool deck to actually conform to the city guidelines. So that was a whole thing that we had to handle at first. And then once we got our permit issued, obviously we got through that, we actually got into building the structure. Now, the way this thing is built is it's block walls. So if you look at the roof structure that we added, there's block walls, and then there's trusses sitting on those block walls. Now, there's huge openings in the block, and the way that those are built is there's these huge concrete beams that go across these block pillars and block walls. These things are so big, and because it's in the back of the house, one, there was no access for heavy machinery other than like a tiny little bobcat. So what we actually had to do is we had these 20-foot concrete beams delivered on site in the front of the house, and then we brought in a crane, and we actually had to pick these up with a crane, lift them over the house, which I'm sure was terrifying for the homeowner. We do it a lot, so it was no big deal, but he's like, don't drop it on my house. So we were picking up this freaking 1,000-pound beam, and we actually placed it up on top of the concrete pillars on the back of the house as we were building up these block walls. So, when you see, I think these are 12-foot tall block walls with a 20-foot span. When you see that, realize that the wider it is, the heavier the beam is, and the more manpower goes into it. So I think we also, in addition to the crane, had 6 guys on site that day just to manipulate it and make sure that everything comes out right and to strap it into place once it was down. So once the walls were up, at that point, we were able to put the roof on. That was relatively uneventful. We did have to do some kind of finagling to fill in where the roof kind of had a different pitch, so we had to fill it in and make it all perfect. It was a whole ordeal, but it went pretty smooth. Once we actually got the structure up, then we got into the finishes, and we got into kind of the pool side area. So in this project, we totally refinished the pool. The pool got sprayed down to the bare shell, and then we resprayed it with what's called a Pebble Tech coating, which is really nice. It's going to last a super long time. And then we did a beautiful, sick travertine pool deck that extends all the way out into the kitchen area. Now, one thing that was interesting here, and if you're considering doing a renovation, this is going to be a good thing for you to hear. The homeowner originally did not want to do the travertine. He was like, look, I just can't make sense of it, because frankly, travertine is effing expensive. Just the material is some of it's $20 a square foot, which you add in the contractor's markup and the labor to that, you're out the roof as far as the cost. So he didn't want to do it at first. He was like, no, let's just do concrete pavers. It's fine. Concrete pavers are nice enough. And then we actually got into it, and he saw the thing kind of coming together, and he was like, he's like, man, I think we should go with the travertine. So we revisited what the numbers were, and it had gone up, funny enough, from when we originally quoted it, because like the material prices were still going up in 2023. And he wound up going for it. He wound up adding on, like upgrading from the pavers to the travertine. And as you'll see in the final pictures, the travertine kind of really makes this outdoor space. Like it makes it so beautiful. It really makes it a step above. You can tell that this is really a luxury project where no holds barred. Like he just totally went for it, and it came out beautiful. So we get the travertine laid down, right? We're kind of getting into the finishes, and then it comes down for the pool cage. Now the pool cage, even though we handled it in permitting, we still, for whatever reason, still had a problem with the pool cage location once we went to install it. Like we got dinged by the county of like, hey, you're in the setbacks. We had to explain to them and walk somebody on site and show that we weren't. The other thing that made this even more complicated, like that was discovered midway somehow, is that this property that we did this whole outdoor living project on backs up to a nature reserve. So there's not only is there a setback for wetlands, like basically you can only go so close to water when you're adding on protected areas, but we also had the side yard issues. There was a whole thing, like the permitting was really, really complicated on this. And unfortunately, that added like 6 months to the timeline of this actually getting done. So the project itself only took like 5 or 6 months, but the permitting made it take a year because we like didn't start for 4 months. And then there was like 2 months of delays in the middle because of all this. So, definitely a learning experience. And we can tell our homeowners that things are going to be like actually taking that long in the future. But in the project, obviously, honestly, the homeowner was very unhappy when he learned that there was going to be even more delay after he waited as long as he did for the permits. But, as a contractor, there's a certain point, and permits is that line where we're like, hey, listen, we do everything we can to make this go faster, but it's out of our hands. Like the government literally says you cannot continue working. We're not going to continue working and risk our license. And he got it once we understood it. But for a lot of people, they don't necessarily get that. So luckily this guy understood. He's in law. He gets it. So we get to the finishes part of this project. And when we got into the finishings, the homeowner kind of realized that he wanted to dress up the outside of the kind of area that we added as well. The other thing that I want to point out is as we went out with this pool deck, what happened is the yard sloped down as we went further from the house. So we actually had to build about a 2.5, in some places even a 3-foot stem wall to hold in dirt. And we wound up using all the dirt that we dug up from the footers and actually brought in more dirt to fill in where we had extended this pool deck out. So we get this extended wall, we got to fill it with dirt, then we put our travertine on it. He actually decided, like we were just going to stucco the outside of that wall. He actually decided to add on landscape beds outside of the retaining wall. So that was actually a really nice addition, kind of like last minute, that I thought really dressed it up even more and made it super, super beautiful. So we got that. We got the outdoor kitchen put in. That was relatively uneventful. You see in the pictures the big, beautiful hood. I think we should actually show the pictures at this point, but you can see this thing came out absolutely gorgeous. The other interesting thing about this is there's no sink in the outdoor kitchen. And you might be thinking, man, why is there not a sink there? Well, what we ran into is in order to put that, so if you can imagine, that kitchen backs up to a bathroom. There's literally a bathroom inside the house, right where the kitchen dead ends into the house wall. So we were like, okay, we'll just take the drain from the outdoor kitchen and put it into that drain stack that, takes all the water out of the bathroom. Pretty simple. There's drains there, connect the drain to the existing drain. Well, what we found out is that even under a covered roof structure, you can't have an outdoor drain feeding into an indoor drain because of rainwater somehow can get into that outdoor sink, get into the house, and in theory, it could overwhelm the plumbing system of the house and flood the house. I think if you were getting that much rain, that the sink drain that's under a roof, anyways, it probably would never happen, but that was the rule. So we would have had to have brought the drain all the way around the house and out to the street and connected it there. I know this may sound crazy if you know anything about construction, but this is actually what we were told we had to do, is trench all the way around the house, the long side, by the way, not the short side, because the plumbing was on that side. To save his driveway, we had to go the long way around the house it was something like 120 or 150 feet that we would have to dig up and run a drain. So we decided not to do that. That's why there's not a sink in this beautiful outdoor kitchen. There actually was supposed to be in the beginning. And literally, you know, if he wanted to add it in later, he could, because the drain lines and the water lines are right there. We just capped them off inside the house. So we wound up not doing it. It still was an amazing product at the end of the day. You know, the best things about this that the homeowner decided to do was the travertine. The travertine just makes this project. Number two was doing the countertop material up the wall. So you'll see that's the same slab. He literally just got 2 slabs, put one on the countertop and ran one about 4 feet up the wall. It looks amazing. He almost didn't do that. We almost just did stucco on that wall. And I'm so glad he decided to do it, because it just creates so much more of a luxury feel. And then, you know, having actually been out at this site, you know, it's the whole thing comes together. The screen cage is huge. It's very high, the high roof. Oh, and then on the ceiling of the actual added roof, there's wood. So we did tongue and groove, like hand stained cedar on the wood or on the ceiling. And that just again, it added another level of just really high end quality to the project as a whole. So I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into what actually goes into making a beautiful construction project. Here's the thing that I always try to express to people is it's not just like sunshine and roses and you're just like dancing along and all of a sudden, poof, there's a magical outdoor kitchen that just gets dropped in by fairies. It's like, no, these are like dirty, sweaty workmen, like contractors, like, you know, cussing as they're hammering nails, like getting dirty, the county saying stop, the contractors fighting with the county. Like, it's messy at the end of the day. It still is messy construction, but just because it's messy along the way doesn't mean it can't turn into a beautiful end product, which is what we had here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. It really helps us, because the more people we reach, the more projects we get a chance at doing, we learn more lessons. And then I make more videos like this where I actually share our lessons learned. Our YouTube is full of videos where I'm actually sharing the things that we've learned through trial and error, so that homeowners and contractors don't have to go through the same trial and error that we did. They can just listen to, hey, oh, Brad already ran into that. I'm not going to make that same mistake. So hitting the subscribe button below actually makes a huge difference, and I'd appreciate it if you did. That said, I'll see you in the next vid. Peace.